All right, I want to bring in Max Bergmann, the director of the Europe, Russia, and Eurasia Program, and Stewart Center at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Max, thanks so much for being with us. The Trump administration is trying to make a case that, in addition to Venezuela, the U.S. should control Greenland. We've talked a lot about the benefits of this, including security, natural resources, and shipping lanes. But is there a bigger picture here to this when it comes to China and Russia, as we just were talking about, when it comes to oil tankers that were connected to Russia from Venezuela?
Yeah, well, there's increasing focus on the Arctic and Arctic security, partly due to the effects of climate change, where there is now an ability to sail through the Arctic, to use it as a northern sea route some parts of the year. That's mainly along the Russian coastline. But you do see an uptick in Russian activity in the Arctic as well as Chinese activity in the Arctic. So there has been a focus on the Arctic, a growing focus on the Arctic here in Washington, including during the Biden administration. So it's not as if this is sort of coming out of nowhere. What is kind of coming out of nowhere is the need for the United States to actually physically, territorially possess Greenland. That is a real head scratcher, considering we can essentially do whatever we want militarily in Greenland. We used to have 15,000 troops there during the Cold War. Now we have 150. The Danes, Denmark, which controls Greenland, it is Danish sovereign territory, have said, what do you want? Do you want to put more troops there? And we haven't really responded to that. So it's kind of a head scratcher why we're trying to possess it. And that is causing a lot of angst in Europe, and especially in Denmark and within the NATO alliance.
Yeah, I mean, let's lean into that. NATO allies in Europe, as you said, standing firm in support of Greenland and Denmark's control of Greenland. The Danish Prime Minister even warned it could lead to the demise of the NATO alliance. What do you believe could happen if the U.S. takes over Greenland?
Well, I think she's right. Look, I think what the Trump administration is trying to do is to buy Greenland. As an American taxpayer, I think this would be a big waste of money. Right now, Denmark is paying for the health care of the Greenlanders. It's roughly $500 million a year. We have a great deal right now where we can do what we want militarily, and the health and well-being of the citizens of Greenland are taken care of by the Europeans, by Denmark. And now that burden would be on the American taxpayer. But if we're trying to buy Greenland, Denmark is going to say no. And then now there are threats from the United States that we would seize Greenland militarily, which is something that we could do. We have the military power to do that. But if we did that, if we attacked effectively a NATO ally, and Denmark is a NATO ally, they fought and died in Afghanistan, it would, I think, mean the end of NATO. There is simply no way that NATO could continue. And I think it would likely mean a huge rupture in U.S.-EU economic relations, which would cause real impacts on the stock market, real impacts on U.S. tech companies that do a ton of business in Europe and are lightly taxed. I think there would be all sorts of downstream ramifications. It would essentially turn the grand alliance between U.S. and Europe, it would break it apart and it would turn Europe into an adversary of the United States. And I don't think that's what we want. And that would come at huge costs, I think, to the U.S. economically and to U.S. security as well.
And I'm curious, what do Greenlanders think of all of this? I mean, it's the world's least densely populated country. Do they want to be controlled by the U.S.? Is there a level of resistance there on the ground?
There's extreme resistance to it. They actually had an election last year, so after the talk of this had sort of already started, and they elected a government that is very much opposed to joining the United States for the status quo. That prime minister has gone to the European Union, spoken at the European Union Parliament, and to be clear, Greenland does not want to be part of the United States. I think the polling is about 85% against that. There is a strong movement for independence from Denmark. And that is, I think, also not in U.S. interest, because then Greenland would be free to do whatever it wanted in terms of deals with China and other places. So the current status quo of Greenland being part of Denmark, they have representation in the Danish parliament, for instance, Denmark paying their health care bills and things like that, while the U.S. has free reign militarily, I think is a really good situation that we don't want to upset. And right now we are upsetting it. And so it remains to be seen how this progresses over the next few months.
Max Bergmann, thank you so much. Always great to see you.